Sammy Watkins help Lamar?
I don't think he's a big help at all, Skip. Sammy Watkins can't stay healthy. Sammy Watkins is good for a game or two, and maybe that's the difference. Maybe it's in he have one of those big games that he normally has, one or two of those a season, and then he's get hurt. Sammy Watkins over the last 3 years has missed an average of about 5 games a season. He missed 14 games, Skip. Sammy Watkins has not had more than 700 receiving yards since 2015. It's 2021. And I know people say, well, Shannon, he's the third receiver with Tyreek and Travis Kelce. Yeah, that means he's getting single coverage. He's getting the third and the fourth corner. He should cook, and he doesn't. So you're talking about, Scott, when I first led the Broncos in receiving, Skip, I was the third option. Mark Jackson, Vance Johnson. They got the 1-2 corners. I got to cook on the third and fourth. Guess what? I led the team in receiving. Sammy Watkins should have better numbers than what he has going against third and fourth options. Sammy Watkins was the 4th pick in the draft, had outstanding potentials. Sammy Watkins was what we see DeAndre Hopkins. That's what we thought Sammy Hopkins was going to be. Go back and watch Sammy Watkins in Clemson, and you tell me what you thought. You thought he would be what DeAndre Hopkins is at this very moment, Skip, and he has not lived up to that. So maybe it's another body that they give somebody, but I don't see Sammy Watkins making tough contested catches. I'm glad the Ravens have gone out. It's not for lack of trying to lure to get free agents to come there. I just did a piece with Mike, president of the Baltimore Sun. I think Mike still works for the Sun. And I was just saying, they got to fight perception. Skip, when you're the #1 rushing team and you're the 32nd passing team, how do I convince a free agent receiver this is the place for you? It's hard. But I don't look at Sammy Watkins as the guy. I hear they're still in the market for an Antonio Brown, but the thing is price for him. Because if it wasn't price, guess where he'd already been, Skip? Like all the rest of the guys that went back to Tampa. But it's a price point. But when I look at Sammy Watkins, Skip, I don't see it. I don't see the guy that, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see the guy that the Ravens and the Ravens fans think they're possibly getting.
Is he better than what they had? Yeah, because they don't have anything else.
Well, hell, Skip, I mean, if you don't have anything, well, hell, anything is better than nothing.
That is correct.
But he real close to that, what I'm just saying. Skip, think about it. How many games did he miss last year? He missed the whole season. And then he came back in the Super Bowl. Did you hear him call Sammy Watkins' name one time?
So I've told you from the start, this is the biggest single opportunity in the entire National Football League is to play receiver for the Ravens. I know it has a perception of being the worst opportunity.
Right.
But all Lamar did just 2 years back was he won the MVP.
Right.
And he threw it pretty well in that MVP season.
He did.
They leaned harder and harder on their run game last year. But remember, they were COVID-racked. They got derailed. They were off schedule the whole year. And not until the last 2 or 3 games did they get hot. And I still say if Lamar hadn't got concussed at the end of 3 quarters at Buffalo, they were going to have a very strong tailwind in the 4th quarter, and I think they would have made a game of it. That was without an obvious #1 receiving option because we know that Marquise Hollywood Brown is more of icing on the cake because all he does is run by people occasionally to get deep. And it's not really what they try to do. And Mark Andrews is the possession receiver, and I keep telling you, Devin Duvernay is a stud if they will utilize him, but he was a rookie last year just playing in the slot. When he was a Longhorn, he bedeviled me as a Sooner fan because he is clutch. They will utilize him more and more. But again, he's not a #1. He's a slot receiver, and that's fine. So there's this glaring opening here for somebody to say, yeah, I'll embrace that. And I hope for their sake it's Sammy Watkins. I agree with everything you said. When he came out, I'm thinking 6'1", 210, like he's not small.
No.
If he were 5'10", 175, I'd say, well, then I don't know if he can stay healthy. But at his size, he's a bigger receiver, and he ran 4.4, and I thought, okay, here we go, right?
Well, Skip, was that the game that he played against Ohio State in the Orange Bowl, where he went for like 200 and something yards? And I was like, oh, my goodness.
Okay, so his 2nd year in Buffalo, catching passes from Tyrod Taylor, he looked like that guy, but it was only for that 1 year. And he went over 1,000 yards.
I think Greg Roman was his head coach, too.
Was it? I can't
remember. Well, not his head coach, his offensive coordinator.
He's the coordinator, And then it started. And just a quick litany of all of his injuries, just to your point, to reinforce what you said. These are the body parts that he has suffered injuries to. shoulder, ankle, ribs, groin, hip tear, glute pull, calf pull, foot fracture twice, hamstring, and concussion. Well, that's a lot of stuff going on. And he's played, this will be his 8th season. He'll play next year at 28 years of age. He's not too old to be your number one.
But with all those injuries, he's like 33.
You could argue, but they don't have, I'll take him over just going forward with nobody else. And it's intriguing to me about Antonio Brown. Obviously, he has a deep connection with Tom Brady, and as much as I love Brady, I would like to see him back in Tampa. But clearly, that's the final domino that has yet to fall in Tampa, because they brought everybody back. And by the way, they still have all their draft picks, so they can still add young players to the mix. So it's not like they're going to stand completely pat. And yet, AB as yet unsigned. And I agree with you. He's looking for $1 more. You know, like he wants somebody to pay him what he thinks he's worth. Tampa can't. Tampa won't.
It won't. They can't. Tampa still has money up under the salary cap, Skip, but they got everybody. Everybody was willing to concede something.
Yeah. And what I don't know for a fact, I assume he was on his best behavior, but we don't know how Antonio was behind the scenes. Maybe he was difficult behind the scenes. Maybe it took all of Brady's leadership to try to sort of keep him in check, where he could contribute as a cog to the offense as opposed to the offense, the whole show.
Everybody that signed one-year deal, Skip, basically signed the same deal that they had signed the previous year. I think Sue got $1 million more. Gronk got the same deal, $10 million. Leonard Fournette basically got the same deal. He might take a little less. All of a sudden, AB comes in as probably the least important of the guys as far as of importance, Skip. And he's like, I want a big payday. I want like $8-9 million. That's not going to happen, bro.
No, it's not going to happen. So that leaves the most intriguing. Obviously, Russell Wilson has been.
Seattle, they wanted him last year. Seattle thought they were in the running last year.
But when you look at Baltimore, you look at the opportunity to play with his first cousin, who's Marquise Hollywood Brown, and a close friend of his, who is Lamar. Both, they're from Miami, obviously, from the same sort of neighborhood in Miami. So he would be happy there as far as the connections with his teammates.
Yeah, I got family.
Yeah. But, again, would you get any more targets than you got from Tom Brady? No, you would not.
No. And that's the thing, Skip. They're not – the Ravens don't go out of their way. At least Tom went out of his way. The last game, Skip, you saw him. He had those incentives. Tom made sure he got them. Tom, I mean, he first got there, Skip, he threw him, 9 balls the first time he got there.
He did.
That's not how the Ravens operate. Antonio Brown is used to getting between 150 and 170 targets. Skip, that's never going to happen. Lamar Jackson only completes about maybe 250 to 300 passes a year. So you want half the targets to go to Antonio Brown? That's not going to happen.
Nope. So, yet, in the end, if you step back from this, are the Ravens still a contender in the AFC?
Yes.
Sure they are.
Because simply for that quarterback. That quarterback's going to have him in contention.
Okay? So if you're Sammy Watkins and you want to be part of something that could be pretty special, this is a great move for him, right?
He wasn't going to get, I don't believe he was going to get $5 million from Kansas City.
He was not.
But as I told Mike, who's writing the piece, Skip, I said, I believe the receiver that they want, they're going to have to draft him. And it's hard because guess where they're always picking? Somewhere between 26 and 30. Because they always make the playoff. They normally win a game. So when you pick in that, it's hard. Now, you might find you a Justin Jefferson. A guy later in the later rounds, Skip. But that's what I believe that's what you're going to have to do. Because it's hard to break that perception. Skip, the last 2 years, you've been #1 in rushing. Last year, you were dead last in passing. How do I convince a guy? Because what happens, Skip, I get 1,000 yards receiving at the team I've left from. I come there and I get 700. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy. He's not the same. He's not the same. Well, y'all don't give me the same opportunities. I'm not getting 100. Take Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs was in a run-first offense, even with Kirk Cousins at Minnesota. He goes to Buffalo. He gets 180-plus targets. He leads the league in catches and receiving yards. Do you think that's what's going to happen if receiver goes to Baltimore?